Wearing my BLM hat to basically show, you're going to force me to choose. Well, I ain't going to choose the side of the right, that's for sure. I ain't going to be wearing no red hat. You can count on that. I mean, look what they stand for. The most inhumane indecencies ever. Specifically, family separation policy. Money over people, money over the environment. And now, Trump over democracy. This is a symptom. This is a boil on a sore. And what it is it's the festering infection that conservative politics truly is. The conservative value system of obedient conformity to some religiously personified identity that is one of complete servitude to the system of wealth consolidation. Free market this, free market that. Look, any Republican that now contests certification is a traitor. Seriously. Now that the Tard Army has breached the perimeter and proved to you all the reality of systemic racism in law enforcement, you have to condemn the Trump. Because if you don't, then for all time, you stand against democracy and for dictatorship. You would rather everyone in the Senate be dismissed and Caesar become emperor for life. Shit. And now, by name, they are standing up for the count. Yeah. I suppose that is the separation thing with this from the that logic, the full extension of it. Shows the unrighteousness of the whole thing. But there are 3 words now that are the reasons why God has acted against us this year, against the United States, against the Trump, in the fashion and manner, in the way things have transpired. Because the thumb on the scale was the corona. And God right then, he's even acted against Trump. Shows you what side he's on if you're going to force us to choose. It's not going to be with the side of the right, those that demand conformity to the antithetical against the will of God to create individuality in the third dimensional plane. That of policed conformity. Which is why the Republican cause is entirely wrong in its basic foundation and premise. It is one of inhumanity. It is one that demands you dispense of your individuality and obey the religious dictate of absolute total conformity to some Judeo-Christian value system of white supremacy. And that's ultimately what they then bring to the table. As the Trump is complete proof of, to the point to where now they're even signing on to sign against democracy. Fine. God showed me the future of America anyway. And it was a white ivory castle wall that was totally decimated on the inside of it, that everybody had at one time been trying to get into. And that was the irony that he then showed me in that vision. And what seems to be accelerating getting us there is the unrighteousness of the conservative cause. That's it right there. Because they would slaughter the world in order to enrich one guy. That's ultimately their goal and everything. Money over people, money over the environment. They are the money changers. They are the war starters. They are the evil incarnate, the antithetical will against the will of God in an act of creation to bring about unique individuality in the third dimensional plane. They are the destructive, abrasive element against that very divine will. And in that is the very real reason why God shall not be governed, and he will not live in a temple. On a schedule that they say, as they try to do. So, they will not be successful. This is proof of that. But we must continue to be diligent. And look, this might be the very thing that defines the internal struggle of this century. We may very well, indeed, have to revisit the cause of 1863. And what is the values as defined by the 13th Amendment, I suppose, if that's what it was. It proved that Lincoln was absolutely righteous because he enshrined equality at that point and proved that this person, this soul that was Lincoln, was indeed a divine expression at the right moment in human history to show the true values that God and the identity of Christ is here for. Same. Not was here, is here. That should be for another video. But anyway, that was the big thing that was on my mind today, was that damn, coup d'etat that Trump's trying to do. The treachery of the Republican Party. Jesus. Anyway, last video, I brought up the idea of casting their nets. Talking about how, through an expression of the will of God on the divine will of God on the plane of death, and the vanquishment of a Trump-tard identity. I said, God tells me the story of casting their nets a little differently. I wanted to expound upon that in that video, but now I'll take the opportunity to do that here. What I meant by that, though, what God has shown me, is that the book of Mark, Luke, and John, the four Gospels, see, it was from a point of view that was not changed by, as one would call it, brotherhood with the divine being. Because their individuality was still in between them and him. And that's how God had to have it. Otherwise, they would have been driven insane by the experience. So, in a way of being kind of like being ironic, the Gospels are not truly gospel, if you follow me. Because of the manner in which the person that was writing it was unchanged by the experience. So how much divine truth could then come through? See. But as this was a divine being, enough made it through to where even today it has an impact on humanity. And to deny it really isn't in sync with reality, is it? So, you better be grateful God isn't political. Otherwise, flames of perdition would be all over this earth. Alright then. Still haven't forgot my promise of a video dealing with resurrection. I'm still looking for a way to tell you the absolute truth. But then again, I know there's no way you can hear that truth. So, stay tuned, because I'll post it up for at least the future anyway.